doing there, pal?
I'm very excited, man. This is a Talking Sopranos first.
Absolutely.
A very
Exclusive.
special.
Exclusive.
Exclusive. This is the first time we've had anyone who was not a part of the Sopranos but loves the Sopranos. And it's a very important day for us.
He's a celebrity super fan, and I'm really happy to have him. It's very nice of him to do this for us. I just watched his movie, The King of Staten Island.
So did I. It was great.
It was great.
I want to talk to him about it because I loved it.
And without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Pete Davidson.
Hello.
Hey, what's
There
up,
he
buddy?
is.
Hi, boys.
Thank you for doing this, man. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank you for having me, man. I'm super psyched.
it. So let me ask you, Pete. So you grew up? Did you grow up in Staten Island? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Staten Island. So how do you get from there to you started at stand up? Tell me how the whole thing goes. How do you get to Saturday Night Live?
Okay. Well, I started doing stand up when I was like 16 in Staten Island. There's one comedy club that is inside of a bowling alley next to a Wendy's and an LA Fitness, which is the most Staten Island thing that I've ever heard.
What's the name of it? What's the name of it?
It's called the Looney Bin Comedy
Looney
Club.
Bin. That's it.
Do you remember any of your first jokes when you first went on stage?
They were all horrible. They're still horrible. But I used to do one joke about how this is a terrible joke, but at the time I thought it was killer. I did a joke about how I was getting my license and I wanted to get a car, and I asked my mom if I can get a car, and this is true, and she told me that I can get a mongoose, but like I'm not a very smart person, so I actually thought it was like a German car or something like that, and it's a bike. So that was my big opener, and I was 16, so it did better than it should have. And that was I think the first joke I told, and it was horrible. It was great club. It was like fun. They let me work out stuff there all the time. The owner was great, but when you were doing bad, you could hear people bowling. Like you could hear people's like little birthday parties, and you could hear the Wendy's orders and all that shit. It was pretty rough.
So Pete, Staten Island's a tough crowd there. I mean, listen, I have a lot of friends there, and I lived there for a very short time. But that's a rough crowd. So if you're not doing well, you're going to hear it, right?
Yes, they're very vocal about what they don't like in Staten Island, me included. I'm like I'm 50-50 there. Some people like me very much, and some people do not like me at all. Understandably. But yeah,
the movie's a love letter to Staten Island. I thought I just saw it recently and I loved it. I just want to say that it has a lot of. It's very funny. It has a lot of heart and fantastic cast. A lot of people that I know and have worked with who like Marissa and Kevin Corrigan and Steve Buscemi and Dominic Lombardozzi and Pamela Adlon. It's awesome, and Bill Burr was great. It's a really hard film, and I found it to be a love letter to Staten Island, I think.
Yeah, I deeply do love Staten Island. I still live there, and I will continue to live there. It's just like it's a very love-hate thing. I don't know how to explain it. I grew up getting I got bullied and all that shit, but like I still love it. It's New York, but it's not like the city. So it's like kind of a suburb, and it's its own little thing. And I really wanted to show that.
The one thing about Staten Island, and I've got a ton of friends there, you can't be from outside of there like and move to Staten Island.
Yeah, nobody, everybody from there is mostly stayed there or from there or second generation. I don't know anybody that's ever been like, I'm going to move to Staten Island.
I think David Johansen lives there, and he's from there.
Yeah.
from the New York Dolls and Buster Poindexter fame. I think he lives there now and grew up there and stuff, which is cool.
When I grew up, the legend was not Dave Franco. That's the actor. John Franco, the pitcher from the Mets. Yeah, that was our big go-to. And now it's Vinny from the Jersey Shore.
Oh, there you go. Oh, he's a Staten Island guy?
He's a Staten Island guy. So we got those two guys.
All right. And I think Christine Aguilera was born there. Yeah.
We'll claim that. That's great.
So you start doing stand-up at 16.
Yeah.
Then what? You looking for an agent? Do you say as soon as you do it, hey, I want to do this for the rest of my life? Or what happens?
I was just such a big fan of stand-up that I just loved doing open mics and stuff like that. And I was just at the right place at the right time. One time I was doing a show at the Looney Bin, and Nick Cannon used to have a radio show in the city in New York, and his co-host was there. And after the show, she gave me her information. She was like, I would like for you to meet Nick. And then I met him, and he put me on a couple of shows with him and started taking me on the road with him. And then I was signed to him for a while. And he kind of, brought me around and introduced me to everything. And then everything started to, snowball from that.
I didn't know that. So it's just she happened to be in Staten Island that night. Thank goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was the first club you did in Manhattan?
The first club that I ever wanted to do was the Comedy Cellar. That's my favorite comedy club I think ever. But the first one I ever did, I think it was Broadway Comedy Club, and it was they used to give young comics a check spot, so you would go up when they drop the bills while everybody's paying their checks. So you try and go up and do as best as you can, and it never. It sucks. It never goes quite right. But it was Broadway Comedy Club and New York Comedy Club. Those two I worked a lot.
And did you ever do those bringer shows where you got to bring the audience and all that?
Yeah, that's how you lose friends. They don't tell you because you have to bring like 5 to 7 people, and like you could do it like twice, but then after that, it's you lose everybody that you know. So I used to have to do that. Yeah, it was a nightmare. It's really hard starting stand up.
Yeah. And then you get an agent, and then you audition for Saturday Night Live, or what happens? How's that?
So I became really friendly with Amy Schumer, and she was shooting her movie Trainwreck. And she was like, "Hey, I got this like this kind of walk on. You just back featured extra if you want to like be in it." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, it's a movie that's so cool." So I was just in this one scene with Bill Hader, and after I finished, he called me up and he was like, "Hey, I recommended you to Lorne Michaels for Saturday Night Live." And I was like, "Holy shit, like what the fuck?" Like, this guy, I just met this guy who was just so nice. Nobody's ever done anything like that for me. So I was like, oh my God. And then I met with SNL, and I was supposed to be a writer. And then I didn't hear anything for like 3 to 4 months. And then a week before the season started that year, Lorne called, and he was like, "We're going to make you a cast member." And I was like, "Oh shit." It was very just like, holy shit. Thank you. Can't believe it. And then I just luckily still been there, still hanging in there.
And you were what, 20, 21 at the time?
Yeah, I was 20 when I got it, and this is my 7th year.
Wow.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you gonna stay on and beat Darrell Hammond's record?
I don't know if I could beat that or Keenan's record, but as long as Lorne will have me on, I'll be there.
You enjoy it?
I do enjoy it. It's fun. I mean, like you get to dress up like an idiot. It's great. Like there's very few jobs where like you could dress up like the Grinch or like Count Chocula or like any of these things, and it's like not weird.
It's a lot of work, though, right? A lot of work all week.
It is. But everybody's very excited about it, and everybody is like happy to be there. So it makes it easier.
I noticed in the movie King of Staten Island, you had a Bada Bing tattoo. Is that a real tattoo, or was that your character?
Yeah, I got a Bada Bing tattoo.
That is a real Bada Bing tattoo.
Let me see.
Yep.
Wow. That is a super fan right there.
And now we got a tattoo artist who's in your hotel who's going to come up right now and give you a Talking Sopranos tattoo.
Yeah.
He's going to knock on the door in 2 minutes. Yeah.
I love the Bada Bing. I drive by all the time because sometimes I go through Jersey to get home from the city, and it's Satin Dolls now. But like, yeah, I see it. I see it all the time.
Satin Dolls in Lodi. It's not even a topless place. It's a bikini bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very the show is very misleading.
It's inaccurate. Yeah. It's totally inaccurate.
No, but when I went there, I clearly went there just because I'm a huge fan of the show. And it's funny because like you could tell the guy who works there, like some people come in that are just big fans of the show. So I walked in and he was like, You want a Sopranos t-shirt? And I was like, yes. He's like, yeah, we got them in the back.
That's very cool.
And I was talking to all the strippers about the Sopranos, and they were like so annoyed.
They were annoyed.
Yeah.
Well, I would imagine. I would hope by now they're retired. The ones that were there 20 years ago, or are they still around?
I don't know. It's Jersey. They might still.
Do they
be there.
strip? They have walkers. They have walkers on the pole. So Pete, did you start watching the show? The Sopranos came on originally in '99. Were you watching it as soon as it came on? Were you too young?
I don't think he was born in '99.
I was 6. So my mom. This is back when like DVDs were the shit. Like my mom had every season on DVD, but she wouldn't allow me to watch it. And then when I finally got my own place when I was like 18, I watched it for the first. I've seen it maybe like 10 or 12 times through.
Wow.
And
that's great.
Yeah, it's like Goodfellas, or like it's just one of those things where it's on. You have to watch it at any point. You could turn it on, and you're like, it's immediately great. So, but yeah, the first time I watched it, I was like 18, 19, and it just blew my fucking mind.
And it's like whenever The Godfather's on, I have to watch that. Like if I see it, I've seen it forever. I always watch that. It's kind of the same thing. And so immediately you like that. You watched it 10 times. Me and Michael are watching it. We're doing a rewatch here, on the podcast. So we're watching it for the first time in like 20 years.
Yeah.
We haven't seen it. So we go episode by episode, and I'm enjoying it much more now than when it was on back then. Because one, I'm not afraid of getting killed off anymore. Right. I was honestly fucking afraid back then. And number two, it's so good, just so good.
It's it's a flawless show. There's only like 2 of them. It's The Sopranos and Breaking Bad, and that's it. There's no other show that's flawless.
Who was your favorite character on the show, if you don't mind me asking?
I mean, the obvious favorite is, James is just, he's just an incredible actor, and like, just like even the way he eats and everything, he's by far just like my favorite. But I also love, I love Edie Falco. I love her. I love how much she loves Tony and just lets him get away with so much, and how she makes rationalizations for him and stuff. So I always loved watching her. That type of, just because like growing up in the tri-state area, I know that, like, not a mob wife, but I know that type of woman, and it was really fun to watch.
Well, there's a lot of them in Staten Island. A lot of
Yeah.
Carmelas in Staten Island. Huh?
Yeah, chalk filled Carmelas.
Do you have a personal interpretation of the ending of The Sopranos?
Well, I've obviously done insane deep dive theories. I would also love to hear your guys' theories. I mean, it was my interpretation would be is it was showing him getting whacked without showing him getting whacked, which is because I watched this video of a guy breaking down the guy coming in with the members only jacket and then him going into the bathroom. And so that's what I think happened. I don't know. I like that it's left up to interpretation, but I would love to know what you guys thought.
I've gone back and forth over the years. You know, at first I thought he was killed. Then I heard an interview with David Chase where he's saying that he refers to the song, and the line of the song is "The movie never ends; it goes on and on and on and on." And somehow that started making me think, well, he's. And then I thought, you know what? It's like a book, right? When you come to the end of the book, it's over. There's no like, I wonder what happens after the book is. It's just That's it. And we had David on the show recently on the podcast, and we were talking about it a little, and I said, and he kind of agreed with that a little bit, and I said, the problem is, David, you built tension at the end. Meadow's trying to park the car, and she's nervous. There's this guy, like you just said, following in the thing, so there's tension, and then it goes to black, so you're not really sure exactly what happened, and that's why people are really wondering. If it was just the family having dinner and it goes to... Also, I said you didn't fade, you just went to black.
You straight up cut.
Yeah.
I can't. I always think about like I wonder what it was like watching that live. Like it must have been like when the Super Bowl blacked out, when everybody was just like, what the fuck happened?
We were all together, like the main cast. We were at a party in Hollywood, Florida, at the Hard Rock Casino. We had a big like event, and then at 9:00 Sunday night when it was airing, we went into a private room. The audience that was there watched it on a big screen. We went alone and watched it together, and it was even. I knew like a year before kind of what was going to happen. I remember David mentioning it, but it was still like a shock. We were just like stunned. Yeah, it was very weird.
You guys also brought "Don't Stop Believing" back, which was crazy.
Yeah,
that wasn't that big of a song, and like it was, but it was like completely revamped after that.
And I think so was Journey, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so was Journey. But I think, and I've always thought, Pete, that he is alive and well, living in New Jersey. There was no fake endings. That was all bullshit. We verified
but that they shot. That people said they shot.
People said they shot different endings. That's a lie.
That didn't happen.
These Bada Bing girls had said it. Steve Perry said he saw the episode. He's a fucking liar. Okay? He's lying. So all these things are lying. I believe Tony Soprano's alive and well, back with his family. It was a red herring, the members only guy, and that's what I think. But here we are 13 years later, and not a day, a week goes by that someone doesn't talk about it. And I knew what was going to happen. I read, even though I got killed off the episode before, I read it, but I still was not ready for the shock.
How did when you guys both found out that you were getting killed off, how did you guys take that? How did that, did you see it coming?
I knew it early because I was involved in writing. Like I was in the writers' room sometimes, so I knew a lot about storyline. The other thing was, by the time my character died, it was almost at the end, so it was just like it was the last season. There was only a few episodes left, so it was like we were all going by then anyway. So
kind
of a cool, unexpected, offbeat ending for it. So I kind of liked it. If I would have died if my character would have died 2 or 3 seasons before, I probably would have felt very differently.
Yeah. Right. Yours is the darkest death, and
it's really dark.
It's so dark.
it's really dark.
Once we made it to that last 9, it was like, hey, we're getting paid. However the story goes, the story goes. David came to my house to tell me, kind of like a real hit. The doorman rang him up, and I opened the door, and he goes, "I guess you know why I'm here."
Yeah.
And then we sat down, and he was vague about it, but and we've talked to Vinny Pastore, Big Pussy, about this. I mean, he got killed off at the end of the season 2. So, I mean, that
Right.
hurt. That hurt him, and I understand because that would have been a blow. Money wise. Plus, it's a great job. You're not working with your friends anymore, so it was a
Right.
real concern. I mean, I was sweating it all the time. That the more they gave you to do, the more you might get fucking killed.
That's crazy.
you know. Uh, what your favorite episode?
I it's tough. I go back and forth. One of them is I love when Tony takes like peyote shrooms after Christopher dies, and he's like in
Vegas,
the desert, and he's super happy.
Yeah.
That's it's like that's a really trippy episode. The episode where AJ blows up his car always makes me laugh because AJ just had such a funny like arc towards the end where he was just trying so hard to like impress Tony. And also the Pine Barrens is just that's just a classic where you're just and you guys running around in the cold, and it's just I would say those 3.
Directed by Steve Buscemi.
Oh, really?
Pine Barrens, yeah. He directed that.
Oh, wow.
That was before he was a cast member. He came on as a director for that episode.
He's the best.
Yeah. He's great.
Great guy.
Really
guy.
fun.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying he's just the sweetest. He's just the sweetest dude. Yeah.
Going back to the King of Staten Island, I mean, most of the people who've seen it know that it's very personal. Do you feel you did what you wanted to do with it? Did it fulfill your expectations? I mean, is that the first movie you wrote and starred in, I imagine?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I've written a couple with my buddy. They have gone nowhere. So this one was our first that I got to, even get in the process of being made, or like it was really exciting for us. I feel really relieved that it's done. I don't know when you've shot stuff where I don't know if you've just been like you're just like happy about it, but also just like, oh, thank God it's out, it's done with. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Like it's already done. But I was just really happy that the Firehouse community was like, good job. They were like, you got it. You got that dynamic right. That's just what me and Judd and Dave were really worried about. So they were happy with it. So we're all pretty happy with it.
I think it's great. My favorite line is, I know the guy who sells crack under the bridge. He looks great.
Yeah, he does. Some guys that do crack look fantastic.
The guy who played Johnny Cakes, John Costello, was on The Sopranos. I went to acting school with him. I go way back with him. He was a fireman as well.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was.
He was a fireman in the show too, right?
I think he was, yeah. And he was in real life. And I think Steve and him go back, maybe way back to the, those days, to the, FDNY. But he was a firefighter as well. But it's, the movie is very funny. It has a lot of heart, and your acting is great. I really, really dug it, man.
Do you enjoy acting, or do you enjoy stand-up?
I recently have been lucky enough to do some acting. I love acting. I like it a lot more than stand-up because you get to like dive into a character, and it's this whole pretend world, and everybody else is doing it too. Like stand-up, you're like by yourself, and like, it's great when it goes great, but when you're bombing, it's just you up there, and it kind of sucks. So I love being part of an ensemble. That's what I really wanted to do with the Staten Island movie. Is like me and Judd were just like, yeah, I want to get a great group of people.
Yeah.
And then you get to hang out with them for like 2 to 3 months, and you just shoot the shit, and you get to make movies, things you grew up just loving and wanting to do. So I think acting is the shit. I love it.
When it's good, it's really good.
Yeah.
And when you're working with people, like you said, that you like.
Kevin Corrigan's one of my favorite actors. He's a really good friend. I know him a long time, but he's awesome. He's always awesome.
He's the best.
Yeah.
He's such a good dude. He's a person I've kept in touch with. My favorite thing is when the first time you do a project where you're just like, I'm gonna be best friends with all these guys for the rest of my life, and then you're like, oh no, you're never gonna talk to anyone.
Yeah, that does happen. Yeah, you kind of that's it.
One of the first things I ever did, like in '97, was with Kevin Corrigan. I had a scene. I was in the Kiss movie,
Detroit Rock City. Right.
And I had a scene, me and Kevin. Yeah, and then I worked with him on Blue Bloods. Who was your favorite villain on The Sopranos?
I mean, Phil Leotardo is pretty great. He's just such a dick. Yeah, he's such an asshole. I love Frank Vincent so much. He wrote a book on like how to be a gentleman.
Man's man,
a guy's guide to a man's man, something like that.
Yeah. So like, I just love that. I just think he's hysterical, a hysterical human being. So I think he was probably my favorite villain, and also just like how upset he was when he found out what's his name was gay.
Vito.
Vito. Yeah, just how he reacted to it, and how it was just so like old school, and like he's just such a monster.
He was awesome, man. Yeah, he's a really good actor, but he also was. I think he played in a band with Joe Pesci. Like Frank was a drummer before he was an actor. He started out as a drummer, and Joe Pesci was the guitar player because they're both from Newark, I think. And then Joe Pesci and Frank Vincent emceed like a talent night at a club in Mount Vernon, New York, where I grew up, near the Bronx. And it was a disco, and they'd had their talent night, and it was Frank Vincent and Joe Pesci were the hosts of this. And that's how they discovered Kathy Moriarty, who was in Raging Bull, who played De Niro's wife, because she used to hang out at this club. So it's just kind of strange how people's career paths go, you know? And I guess his first big movie was Raging Bull. He played Salvi.
Both of them, yeah.
Frank Vincent loves Aerosmith. In his book, it says, if you ever have the chance to go see Aerosmith, you should.
Frank Vincent says that?
Yeah, in the Man's Guide to Being a Man.
Well, you know, Steven Tyler used to kind of hang around. He's friends with Vinnie Pastore, and he was a huge fan of the show. And we did a few things, and he showed up, Steven Tyler.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he had a T-shirt made after season 1, between season 1 and season 2, that said "Pussy is not dead," and we did some appearance, and Steven Tyler showed up wearing that T-shirt. He had that made. Yeah, that was really cool.
What other? You've got some other movies coming out, right?
I'm in the Suicide Squad for a bit. Very excited about that.
What do you play?
I play Blackguard, who's a villain. He's a new addition to the Suicide Squad, and that is all I am contractually allowed to say.
Gotcha.
But
it's different. Like when you were doing King of Staten Island, since you wrote it, you had a lot of say.
Yes,
you had a lot of say and collaborated with Judd. But that's not going to be the case all the time, obviously, you know.
No, yeah, it's wild when you go into another project and you do like ADR, and they show you all the stuff that they're going to like use. and you're like, oh, that's it. And they're
Yeah.
like, we cut some stuff. And you're like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
When it's your thing, you have say.
I've had that experience many times. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
when I started acting in movies, you're not really kind of prepared for that. When you actually go see I remember you do scenes. I started out indie movies really a little bit before Goodfellas, and you do all these scenes. You work a bunch of days, then you go see the movie, and you're like, it's like a little bit here,
Yeah.
like that's it.
Yeah.
All right, I guess, because a scene takes could take a day to shoot sometimes, and hours, and it's 2 minutes on screen, and
Right.
I wasn't really prepared for that. It was very disappointing.
Yeah.
King of Staten Island, you're in just about every scene.
Yeah,
I made sure of that. Tried to get as much screen time as possible.
Well, it worked. It worked.
Yeah.
What do you think about the Knicks? I know you're a big Knicks fan. Michael.
Oh man, it's just so upsetting all the time. We got some promising new picks, but they say that every year, and I just don't understand how the Nets are getting all these fucking superstars.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to play for the Knicks.
Keep on trying, but me and Michael have talked about it a lot. Of all the things that I've gotten to do, going sitting courtside at the Knicks is probably my favorite thing.
Oh, there's even win or lose. There's no better.
Nothing better,
there's
right?
nothing like it. And the Garden's always sold out, and it's always high energy and nuts and fun. And
Jim
awesome.
Dolan's been great to us, and go out there, have dinner, say hello to everybody. It's a good time. I mean, win or lose is right, but that's one of my favorite things to do. Who would ever thought? I used to sit up in the fucking tippy top.
Yeah.
That's all I could afford. $12 for two tickets.
$12 for 2 tickets.
2 tickets.
$6 a ticket. Wow.
Yeah, like with a student card. When I was in college. And
right.
And now we're sitting down there, and it's
They used to wear those tight shorts back then, right?
Yeah, and fucking helmets, yeah, and leather balls, yeah, leather balls.
They had laces on the balls back then, didn't they?
So, you'll stay on Saturday Night Live as long as you can.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I love Lauren, and me and him have a really great relationship. So I'm just like I'm taking it as it comes. It's also just like this pandemic has been so nuts. It was so great to have something to come back to and do. I was like, thank God, because I was losing my fucking mind. It's been so dry out there with work and
tough. I know, man. It's tough, man. It's tough. Hopefully things will get better soon. Listen, Pete, I couldn't thank you enough for doing this. Really, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you come back again, and I wish you all the best in everything you do.
Yeah, man. Thanks very much. Man. It's a pleasure to have you and an honor. We appreciate it.
We'll see you.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you at the Garden, brother.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good. All right, man.
All right,
Thank
man.
you.
Take care.
Appreciate it.
Bye.
Be well. There you have it. Celebrity super fan Pete Davidson was nice enough to come here. He's a really nice kid.
Yeah.
And really talented guy, and I wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen his movie, King of Staten Island, you should. It's a good one. Yeah.
Let's take a break, and we'll be back. I got to tell you, I really like that Pete Davidson. He's a really good kid with he's got a bright future. I'll tell you that.
He certainly does. And I like, if anybody hasn't seen King of Staten Island, you should.
Yeah.
For Pete's performance, but also it's a really well cast movie. There's a lot of really great, actors in smaller roles. Casting, as we know, is key. It's like it can make or break a movie or a TV show. And speaking of casting, I'm packing up my house and I was going through the archives So I found casting notes. So when we were doing Marco Polo episode, we were casting that Dr. Fegoli character that wound up being played by Bruce Kirby.
Uh-huh.
But when we were casting it, we went, it was kind of a hard role to cast. You're talking about an older Italian guy who has to come off kind of pretentious, well-educated. It was very specific.
If you were older, you would be perfect for that role.
Yes, I would be perfect. So what they did was they said, well, let's go through the old casting notes. So I got a copy of casting notes from when they were casting Bacala Sr., who we know was played by the great Burt Young. But these are the notes. So the casting people would prepare a list of actors, and then they'll say, are they available? Sometimes they'll say how much they get. Sometimes they'll talk about, now you're talking about older guys, what kind of health they're in. So listen to this. They
do it, but they do it among themselves, right? So Georgianne Walker and Sheila Jaffe, they compile a list, and then they would, after they find out what's what, then they would bring it to David.
Then they bring it to David. So first you'd have a big list, and they throw it, like I said, they're throwing everything against the wall. Here are some of the names that were considered, and most of these names were kind of said no, they weren't quite right for the character. They were kind of nixed. Vic Argo, who was a good friend.
Great actor and a great actor.
Alan Arkin.
Wow.
This is Bacala Sr., remember. Frankie Avalon.
I don't see Alan Arkin at all.
Frankie Avalon.
Yeah,
Val
like
Avery, who was a great actor who I really liked. Mm-hmm. Milton Berle.
He's got a big cock, Milton Berle. You know that, right? They said he had the biggest cock in Hollywood.
It's not in the casting notes, but maybe you're right. I don't know. Philip Bosco, Richard Bright, who wound up playing one of those Atwell Avenue boys.
And he was Neary in The Godfather.
The Godfather. Charles Bronson. Mel Brooks was considered for Bacala Sr.
I don't see that at all.
James Caan, interesting choice.
Sure.
Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash could have played your father. Imagine that. His name was actually, on the casting list.
A girl named Sue. A girl named Sue?
A boy named Sue.
Boy named Sue.
James Coburn, who was a great actor.
Yes. Our man Flint.
Robert Culp.
Tony
Spy. Curtis.
I know Tony. I told you that story.
Did you?
In Vegas, he was all looted out, drunk, high, looted, a sweet man.
Looted meaning quaaludes.
Quaaludes. I had to get him in a cab, literally carry him from the club to the thing. He gave me a $10 tip. He was wearing a cowboy hat. He put it on my head. I carried him in. I took the hat off.
He was out of it.
He lived in Vegas.
Johnny V worked with him. Johnny Ventimiglia. He has a good story about him. When Johnny comes back, I'll have him tell it. Kirk Douglas, Robert Duvall, James Gandolfini Sr.
And they asked about my father. They did ask me if my father was alive, and I told them he had passed away.
James Garner, who was friends with David, I guess, from Rockford. Frank Gorshin, who played the Riddler in the Batman series, and was a really top-notch impressionist.
Yes. Big Vegas act.
Dennis Hopper. Jack Klugman.
I like him. The Odd Couple.
Robert Loggia, who eventually came on to play Feach, Lamana. Carl Malden. Jason Miller, who played the priest in The Exorcist, was also a playwright. I think he wrote that championship season. He was a playwright. But he played the younger priest. Tom Noonan. And Anthony Quinn. Anthony Quinn, Roy Scheider, Jason Robards, Rod Steiger, Jerry Stiller, Rip Torn, Abe Vigoda, Joe Vitarelli, Jack Warden.
So they're they're all over the map here.
Well, often you are, because you never know. Sometimes the person that's not the most obvious is the most interesting. You know what I mean? You never know, who's gonna nail it. But then they get more specific. So then you'll go through that list. You'll say, I love him, but he's not right for that. I love him, but he's not right for that.
And some are big gets. I mean, you really think they were going to get
Kirk Douglas, Charles Bronson.
Maybe.
But then they started getting more specific. right?
Okay.
So that was the first. That gets sent from casting to the producers, and the producers say yes, yes, yes. Get more specific. Now this says offer only, which means they're not going to audition. You give them an offer, and they either say yes or no. Peter Falk.
Great.
Peter really wanted to do The Sopranos because we both knew Peter.
Yes.
And he came to a lot of the parties in L.A.
I could have seen that. I could have
seen Peter. Peter came close to being it. His quote. They have his quote here for a half-hour episodic. So quote is, "The last job you did on TV is how much you got. So now the new job has to match that, or that's the negotiating point." He got $125,000 for 4 days on an episodic show.
It's nice money. They don't pay that anymore.
And no, that was probably 20 years ago, maybe more.
Yeah, they don't pay that anymore.
Ben Gazzara was offer only. Ben would have been great.
He would have been great.
Robert Loggia and Abe Vigoda were both offer only.
I think Loggia would have been great. I don't know about Abe Vigoda. Fish
played Paul Castellano in Witness to the Mob. I met him on that. He was I
nice
loved
guy.
him. He was really great. He was the great Tessio in The Godfather, of course, but and a very good actor.
Do they have a quote for him?
No, they don't. The only quote is for Peter Falk for some reason.
Well, there's no way. Do you think The Sopranos would have paid that? I don't think so. It's a lot of money. Maybe
big star like Peter Falk. I mean, Peter Falk's a worldwide, superstar. Here's the unavailable list. So now they were checking on Joe Bologna was shooting a film.
This is incredible, by the way.
Philip Bosco was shooting a film. Sid Caesar, not in great health, it said.
Your show of shows.
Seymour Cassell, one of my best friends, was not available.
I think Seymour could have did it.
Seymour could have done a part. Pat Cooper, it just says Las Vegas.
That's a big fucking pass. That's a big pass.
He is on the list, though.
But he can't act. Somebody there in casting liked him because he kept auditioning, but he can't act. Besides being a prick, he can't act. So go ahead.
Martin Landau was shooting a movie.
I like Martin Landau. Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Arthur Nascarella was shooting a Woody Allen film, but
Arthur wound up playing Carlo.
He wound up playing Carlo. Lawrence Tierney was in bad health. Lawrence Tierney was in Reservoir Dogs. He played, the boss. Mm-hmm. He was a great actor too. And then you have Sal Bracco, Lorraine's father, was considered at one point.
Really? Now you got to remember, at the time I was, let's see, 2000. I was like 40, 41, 42, somewhere in there, right? So somebody had to be at least in their 60s, mid 60s.
Right. It's very interesting. And then here we have Uncle Juniors. So this was people who they considered for Uncle Junior. Joe Vitarelli, Pat Cooper.
But Joe Vitarelli told me he auditioned.
Pat Cooper, Frank Savino, Burt Young.
Really?
Jerry Grayson, who wound up playing Marty, the casino manager, who was a friend of ours. Frank Vincent.
Frank Savino was in The Godfather 2. And
that's Frank Saverio, no?
Oh, yeah. That's not Frank Savino.
I think this is a different person. I'm not sure, unless they got it wrong.
Okay.
Frank Vincent, Val Avery. That was Uncle Junior.
Then
Ben Gazzara, it says offer only, available, Sag Harbor. I guess Ben was living in Sag Harbor. He was available for Uncle Junior. Bruce Kirby was considered for Uncle Junior. So we found Bruce Kirby on this list for Dr. Fegoli, and it said he's way too healthy. I guess they wanted someone skinny for Uncle Junior. It says he's heavy and way too healthy. They wanted for Uncle Junior someone who looked kind of skinny and not as robust or whatever, wiry. Martin Landau was not available for Uncle Junior. Lawrence Tierney was not available. Tony Musante, he was a good actor.
Yeah. He was in West Side Story, wasn't he?
I don't know. He was willing to read. Interesting behind the scenes. You will only get this at Talking Sopranos.
This is incredible. I'm not kidding you. That you will only get it here, and that's amazing that you found that and those people that are considered. But when it comes down to it, am I correct that you really could only see Burt Young doing the role?
Yeah.
He was great. And now when it's all the smoke clears, you could see Burt Young only. He was great.
Yeah. I also found, and I'm not going to get into this. I'm going to save this for another episode, but it's really interesting. This is a outline for season 5, episode 7. I don't know which. It doesn't say the title. I don't have that off, and it's an outline, and it outlines 36 scenes. Couple of sentences, and we'll get into that so you could share how an outline, how it comes. Maybe they used it, maybe they didn't use it, maybe they used part of it, but we'll get into that in the next episode.
I got to tell you, that is great stuff, Michael. Seriously.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break, and we'll come back and do the episode. All right. I see you shaved. You shaved?
I shaved to play the Attorney General on a TV show called Blue Bloods.
Blue Bloods.
Yeah, you've heard of it.
Yes, this is great. You enjoyed it? Well, you've been on. This is your 3rd time.
I played this character in 2 episodes in season 7 of Blue Bloods, and now they brought me back for season 11. I didn't get to work with you, of course, but I worked with. I did 3 scenes with Tom Selleck, which was a lot of fun. And,
maybe they'll write where we work together. One time we get into an argument.
It'll be like this, yeah. We'll do a podcast, a law enforcement podcast on the show.
Maybe something like that. Okay, so this is season 4, episode 7. Watching Too Much Television is the title. It first aired October 27th, 2002. It was the teleplay by Terrence Winter and Nick Santora. Story by Robin Winter, Mitchell Burgess, Terry Winter, and David Chase. It was directed by the great John Patterson. This was his 9th out of 13 episodes. It's a good episode. I really enjoyed it, as I enjoy them all. But here we go. Opens up at the Bada Bing. There's a little party. Paulie is getting out of prison. He gives us his famous, what do you hear, what do you say?
Which comes from Cagney, right?
Yes.
And him and who?
Him and Stevie are huge Cagney fans.
Well, he says it in Angels with Dirty Faces, which is a great movie, directed by Michael Curtis, who did Casablanca. It's Cagney, Bogart, Pat O'Brien, and the Dead End Kids.
Yes.
You got Hunts Hall and Leo Gorcey.
And
there's also a podcast called What Do You Hear, What Do You Say? It's Justin and Adam. They do it. I think it's about like mob movies and stuff, mob folklore.
The Dead End Kids had different versions, right? They had the comedy ones, the Bowery Boys. The Dead End Kids. They were different names. Billy Hallop was a star in some of them. Hunts Hall, Leo Gorcey.
When I was a kid, they were on Channel 11 or Channel 9 in New York, on Sunday mornings or something. Yes. Their movies, and
they were funny. But then there's the serious movies like Angels with Dirty Faces with Cagney and Pat O'Brien, and some really good stuff. And I remember they lived in Sutton Place, which now is kind of hoity-toity. But back then, I guess it was a slum.
Was it like tenements and stuff?
Yeah,
huh?
It was a slum. It's on the east side on the river, and you see that.
I didn't know that. They lived on Sutton Place?
It was Sutton Place.
Because Sutton Place is a dead end.
The neighborhood over there, yeah.
My grandfather, my mother's father, grew up on West 69th between West End and Riverside. This is like in the 1900s. He was born in 1914. His parents were already there. They came from Italy. That now is all big high-rises. It's behind Lincoln Center. But it was all tenements back then, and it was very poor. It was a lot of Italians. It was Irish, black. And he kind of grew up like that, like the Dead End Kids. I hear all the stories about, their kind of scams and, whatever ways they made money and crazy things.
Well, I mean, in West Side Story, which was, 1963?
That's where he lived. That was
61,
before.
63, okay. And then that's all wiped out. That neighborhood at the beginning, the opening,
yes,
where the camera's above Manhattan, which is a great shot, Yankee Stadium, and that neighborhood is gone now.
That's where he grew up, and that was all tenements like in West Side Story. Actually, they shot the movie right before they started demolishing that whole neighborhood, the West Side Story.
Yeah. So everyone's there. Let's have a drink. Paulie's in a good mood. He's all decked out. All the guys are there. They're going to have a party. Christopher breaks his balls. Paulie says, after 4 years, I want to get laid. 4 months, right? What's he say? 4 months.
4 months. Yeah.
4 months, I want to get laid. And I heard you've been getting laid all the time up there. Tony takes him off to the side, gives him a boost, gives him an envelope with money. Paulie starts complaining. I could have used the money while I was away. Ma, the bills, etc., etc., etc.
He starts complaining, and later on we hear him say, "You know me, I never complain."
Yeah.
But he complains, and Tony says, "Listen, you just got it. You're out of jail 30 seconds. You got a fistful of cash. You got all these no-show jobs that he gets a piece of. Enjoy the party." Brian says, "Oh, you're back from college."
Yeah, which
was
a
a bad move. Although Tony always talked about his time in jail as when he went to college in real life.
Yeah. I mean, that's a term. I was away at college. That's an inside term, meaning you were in prison. But it's very awkward because, first of all, Paulie never met Brian, has no idea who he is, and Brian thinks he's one of the guys now.
It's a bad move.
And it's very awkward. Joe Scarp, our good friend Joe Scarpanino.
He's in that scene, right?
He's in a few scenes there. That might have been, he told me one of the actors kept pushing him out of the way. One of the guys in the scene, I won't mention his name.
You know who it was?
Yeah, but was trying to get in front of the camera, and Joe was just there. He was a background and part of the.
A friend of Tony's and a friend of ours, yeah.
Yeah, a very close friend, a beautiful guy. And yeah, the actors are pushing, trying to get out of his way. Now the thing about this, Paulie, he's making all kinds of money. He was making $6,000 a week from the book. I mean, they can't last 4 months without money coming in. He's got no kids. He's a single guy.
I guess. I don't know. I
don't know what bad habits he has. And then, of course, they play Nancy with the laughing face. That's his
Frank
favorite
Sinatra,
song.
But it was not about Nancy Sinatra, which I always thought. I didn't realize that it was written by Phil Silvers.
Yeah, about his daughter.
People.
His daughter.
Phil Silvers, the comedian, the comic actor from Sergeant Bilko. Yeah. I didn't even know Phil Silvers wrote music, but Frank made the song famous, though, didn't he, Frank Sinatra?
Yeah, Nancy with the laughing face. And I think Frank Sinatra's wife was named Nancy, and his daughter.
So Nancy's mother is Nancy?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
And if I'm wrong, I'm sure everyone will fucking correct me, as always. They got no problem fucking correcting you. It's a tough crowd, right. I tell you. Christopher's apartment. Adriana's sitting on the couch. She's watching Murder One, which was a great series. And Daniel Benzali, I met him once. Phenomenal actor. He doesn't work.
Daniel Benzali?
Benzali.
I know Stanley Tucci was in that, as well as Anthony LaPaglia, two people that I know.
Benzali was he was the star. He played the lawyer. It was a really good show. He hasn't done a movie since like 2007, and he hasn't done TV since 2015 for some reason. I know he used to live or go out with Kim Cattrall. That's where I met him years ago at one of the
HBO thing, parties.
HBO thing, and I met him. The guy's terrific, bald-headed guy, just great. The Broadway, he sings. I don't know. Maybe I'm sure it's by choice, but he doesn't.
But it's a tough business. There's ebbs and flows in this business. You're working and then you're not working, and then you're working and then you're not working. You know how it goes.
She's watching intently, Adriana. And what a lot of people don't realize, Drea's probably not really watching that. There's probably nothing on the screen. You know what I mean? They don't usually do the playback. So sometimes they do, but a lot of times you have to imagine what's on the screen. And probably here, I think.
Yeah. Sometimes they haven't cleared it yet. Meaning they don't have the rights yet or something.
So there's nothing on the screen. So she's imagining, thinking.
There might just be a light, coming out, to make to give the illusion.
she sees that there's a law about testifying against your husband.
Which gives her some hope.
It gives her some thought. We're at the Bada Bing. Brian wakes up on the floor. They had a rough night. We saw Brian earlier licking, salt off one of the strippers' tit. And here's this kind of straight-laced guy with a girlfriend or a wife or whatever. And here he is, when in Rome. Guys are banged up pretty good. Tony,
I love, he said, he goes, "Where are my pants?" And immediately Joey Pants walks out.
And they pop up, the three of them. I mean, it's daylight. They had a rough night, man.
Oh.
God damn.
You know, that place, because we shot in the club, Satin Dolls. It was the Bada Bing on the show, but it was a real strip club, Satin Dolls. You know, when you're shooting TV, you start early in the morning. And I have to say, being in that place at like 6 a.m. before breakfast was not the most pleasant thing in the world.
No. Then they used to have a buffet.
They had a little buffet. That
you want to eat? That's where you want to eat.
Happy hour.
You want to eat at the strip club. But, boy, they were banged up. Early in the morning, daylight. I've seen you like that.
I've seen you like that.
Yes,
I've seen Jim like that.
I got to tell you, if I did that now, I would be shot for weeks.
Yeah, the recovery time.
I mean, we would be out so late. 4 or 5 in the morning, and then hop on a plane at 8 o'clock, when we were traveling. It's like, what were we thinking about? Why didn't we just get a 12 o'clock plane? Why'd we have to get at 8 o'clock?
Yeah, you're right. Those are bad decisions.
Why the fuck did we do that? What were we thinking about? They're in the diner. Tony, Ralphie, Brian, they're eating breakfast. They're talking. Ralphie says, any investment advice for an ambitious young man? Such as myself. He tells him this story about
he lays out this housing scheme using the federal government housing and urban development to approve and guarantee a mortgage from a bank, and they're going to use that to scam. What's playing is a Muzak version of Steely Dan's "Ricky Don't Lose My Number." Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Which is the song is about a novelist. Actually, a novelist that I really love, Ricky Ducornet, who wrote has a new book out called Traffic and wrote a book called Netsuke that's really good. But I guess they knew her in college or something, or one of them did, Donald or
Have
Walter.
You ever seen them? I've seen them numerous times.
We saw Donald Fagen play at the Jazz Foundation benefit. He did.
Then I met him at a
Hesitation
Nikkei
Waltz, which was incredible.
Great.
Yeah.
I've seen them numerous times in concert.
Well, Walter Becker passed away.
Yeah. But before he passed away, I saw them. Tony says his house tripled in value. Him and Carmela always like to brag. They slip it in, very subtle, but he said his house tripled in value. He says, buy land, as Will Rogers says, God's ain't making any more of it. So he gives them the Fugazi loans, and he gives them this scam about HUD, which of course mobsters always looking for an edge.
They're looking for an angle, right? And this is actually a big score. I mean, there's a lot of potential here.
Falls in their lap. They're at the Russian bats. Furio drops Tony off. He's going to be a while. Tony goes into the Russian bats. Furio is looking at pictures from his party.
His housewarming party.
The envelope, and he stops on Carmela, and he's staring at Carmela. He's in
love.
He is in love. Russian bats. You got Tony, Ralph, Semblian, Zellman, Maurice, played by the great Vondi Curtis Hall.
He was awesome in this episode. Yeah. Vondi Curtis Hall, and so was Peter Riegert. We've seen him before, and he's always great. I think this is his only episode, Vondi Curtis Hall?
Yes.
He was also in Crooklyn and Romeo and Juliet, but he nails it in this role. And they're talking about how they grew up in the same. He says, you were at Sixth and Orange, we were practically neighbors, and then Ralphie, always the wise ass, says that's why he moved. Although, in many respects, that is why they moved.
Sure.
That is, there was a lot of tension and racial tension after the riots and obviously during and before, but that was one of the reasons why there was that white flight that happened.
Well, there's also in this episode, I think a lot of what's going to be in the many saints in Newark. There's some roots here in this episode.
They bring
Newark,
up the riots, yeah.
the riots, the building, how Newark went to shit. And the Italians tried to save it, and they say it here: keep Newark white.
Keep Newark white. And there was a guy named Anthony Imperioli, and it's a different spelling than my name. Although people always thought that I was somehow related to him, and when I was a kid, I didn't even know who he was. But he was a New Jersey state legislature I think he was a state senator at one point. He was on the city council in Newark, and during the riots, he advocated for white people to arm themselves. It was kind of like he was inspiring this vigilante group in the North Ward. They were called the North Ward First Aid Squad, I think, something like that. He was against busing, and he had a lot of people, like he said, people that followed him in his camps that were kind of like wannabe clans people. But
Tony gets up and leaves, so he can't be incriminated. When Ralphie starts explaining the scam to him, Tony.
That's what it is. So Tony doesn't want to be present for this in case.
In case anything.
So it's all right for everybody else to be present.
But you know what I'm saying? He's in case one of these guys turns snitch. I don't know what you're talking about. Furio calls Carmela. He said he makes believe he can't find his sunglasses. I get the pictures from the housewarming. Finally, there's a pretty one of you. I don't see the glasses. She doesn't bite. I think he's putting it out there a little bit to see if she bites. When he says there's a pretty one of you, she said that's so nice, but you know what I mean? Ralphie explains the scam and says they're going to get 10%, which seems low to me. They're doing. There's a lot of risk.
But they're not. The money goes to the person the windfall goes to the person putting up the money. Always.
I'm just saying. I mean, the Russian bats were in the locker room. Zellman walks in. Tony's getting dressed. Zellman tells him that he's seeing Irina.
Now you notice during that moment, both of them are doing their belts. Tony's putting on his belt, and Zellman's doing the belt on his robe, which the belt, of course, comes back later at the end of the episode. But I thought that was kind of funny. Also just setting up the idealism of these guys, in Maurice and Zellman. They were in college together. They both were into civil rights and activism and this big, high ideals that we see get challenged later on in this episode.
Listen, like Newark, their ideals went to shit. You know what I mean? And they try to rationalize, as we see later on. But Tony's not happy. He puts on a good face. He says, listen, the heart wants what the heart wants. And Tony says the heart also wants what the dick wants.
So you don't think Tony's happy there?
No.
It seemed like to me Tony didn't really give a shit, no?
No, he's masking it. He's trying to hide it.
He's a little annoyed.
And I don't think he wants Zellman to see that. And then he gives a fucking zinger. Zellman says, I have feelings for her. I really care for her. And he says, I'm happy to get her off my payroll. Which basically means she's a hooker.
She was a hooker. Yeah, and it's a bad move on Zellman's part.
It's a very bad move. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, and Tony says, get her off the payroll. That's a real... He's just telling you I care for this girl. So, Tony's very annoyed.
None of the guys in the Soprano crew could ever go out with her, right? We know that.
No.
So he probably feels this is not the most respectful move on Zellman's part,
well,
right?
It's not. They're in business together. This was his girlfriend. Of all which he says later on, of all the girls in Jersey, you got to pick her. There's a million strippers. So,
Ralph comes in and says, who's going to scrub my back? Which is very funny.
The shy lights. I got a message from somebody. We mentioned the shy lights in one of the other episodes early on. And he says, I'm friends with the shy lights. One of the shy lights. He had no idea that the Sopranos used their music. How can he get paid? A guy sent me that message.
He had no idea. Well, somebody got paid.
He says he had no
Whoever
idea.
owns the publishing rights.
How can he get paid? How the fuck do I know how he gets paid?
Well, we know through Martin, you pay whoever owns the master recording, and you pay whoever owns the publishing rights to the song itself.
But do you know what I mean? This guy, and I don't know the guy from Adam. How does he get paid? He's asking me. What the? I could barely fucking get dressed in the morning. What the fuck?
Tell him to call ASCAP.
The fuck do I know?
Publishers Union.
You fucking jagoff. Attorney's office, Dr. Freed. Very simple, but he's great. Dr. Freed, very simple character.
He's always good. Yeah, he's right on. He nails him.
Always
Eat my
good.
dust, Donald Trump. He makes a reference to becoming a big developer now.
The scam is now in motion. Obviously, the gift shop, Adriana is picking out a card. Agent San Severino. And she pops up and Adriana says, why don't you go haunt a house or something? Stop crawling up my ass. I mean, it is out of line what they do here. I mean, this girl doesn't know what the fuck is going on, you know?
They don't care. They want to get who they want to get, right?
Christopher, how's your boyfriend? He looked tired the last time. How's his drug problem? He doesn't have a drug problem. You know she's lying, you could tell. And she throws it out there. We're thinking about getting married.
Which is not really, Christopher's not really agreeing to that yet, but she just says that.
Tony's car, Tony and AJ with fishing poles. I got to tell you, AJ is a really dim bulb. He is not very bright at all.
I love this scene, though.
I know.
I love him saying, he came over here with $10 in his pocket. Yeah, but back then I read you could get a hotel room for like
10 cents
a week. And
a week.
Room service must have been a cent. What's interesting, that church, that's St. Patrick's Church in Jersey City, and it was built in 1868. So the dates don't really work out for Tony's grandfather, I think, to actually have built it. But that building got damaged in the Black Tom explosion in 1916. Black Tom was a man-made landfill island in New York Harbor near Liberty Island. And there were 2 million pounds of small arms and artillery, 100,000 pounds of TNT. It was in reserve for the British Army. The U.S. was sending it over to the Brits for World War I. And it was set on fire by German agents.
Really?
The explosion was like 5.5 on the Richter scale. They felt it in Philadelphia. There were windows broken 25 miles away, including in that church. Stained glass windows got busted. The Statue of Liberty got damaged. There were broken windows in Times Square. 4 people died.
Really?
1916, yeah.
And that church is still standing today, though.
That church is still there, yeah. St. Patrick's.
AJ says, who gives a shit about Newark? Tony's trying to give him some family history. Newark's history, how people still, even though white flight and they moved out of Newark, they still come back on Sundays. And they still attend church there. And though Newark has gotten much better these days, there's been, it's not great, but much better than what it was. There's been improvements made over the years.
And AJ says, why don't we go there?
Yeah. The neighborhood used to be beautiful, and then he cuts to the garbage on the street. Used to be all Italian. They took care of their own problems. AJ's not very bright. Meadow got the brains, that's for shit sure. And AJ, I think, could really give a shit.
No, he doesn't give a shit.
He doesn't care about this stuff. And then Tony drives up with AJ. There's these crack houses. He tells him, I'm buying them. He says, for what? The guy come over, black dude, shows Tony the gun. They get nasty. They throw something away. AJ's a little afraid. Tony lets it go. I guess he's got his son in the car, and Tony just isn't going to get into a beef with these people.
Yeah, although he pushes it a little too far with his kid there,
Yeah, he's got a gun in his pants, get off the block. If you're not buying, there's no looking. And it's a mess. It's obviously just a mess. The conference room, Harris, Cubitoso, Chicharron, San Severino, they're having a meeting. They call Christopher tall, dark, and sociopathic. Great.
They say he's a great catch. Yeah, Moltisanti's a great catch. And they're really, talking about, well, what is the if they do get married, how does that affect our case? Is it good for us? Is it bad for us, or what? In some ways, it puts more pressure. If they have kids, they have more to lose now.
It gets her closer to Tony. But Danielle says she's really going to marry him. I mean, what's wrong with this girl? I mean, like so many, if they have kids, she'll get closer to Tony, which I guess in a way possibly, but I don't know what she's ever going to know, Adriana. You know what I mean? So the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Maurice meets with Regina. He signs the papers one day at a time. She says, keep on keeping on.
And just in that moment when he says that, when she says that's quite a challenge or whatever she said, he says, one day at a time, and he's smiling, but you could see he's like, he really brings all those colors, like the regret. He knows he's got to do it. He's pressured, but he really feels like he's doing something wrong and betraying himself and betraying his ideals. He does a great job in this scene. I really like his work.
Zellman's house, Tony arrives. It would be better if we met over at Denny's. He just comes in. Tony is, kind of pressuring him. We can't have a bunch of white guys in there. He
wants the crack dealers out so they can kind of basically strip the house of anything of value.
And he says squatters' rights. And he sees Irina's shoes, her heels. This gets Tony fucking riled up. He's annoyed.
And it's just really uncomfortable and awkward. She comes out,
when you're dealing with squatters' rights or anything having to do with the homeless or that matter, it can get very tricky. Tony tells him what he wants. Get your people on it. Get this out of here. Maximum value is the big picture.
He wants him to get the cops, make a phone call, get the cops to get the drug dealers out so they could strip it of copper pipe and moldings and mantle.
Doesn't that sound a little small-timey? This is a big mob boss. Why does Tony care about $7,000? And then he tells Vito later on, sell, the other stuff off the fireplace and the copper, the chrome. I mean, it just seems to me small-timey.
Maximum value, that's what he says.
Yeah, he tells him he'll take the $7,000 out of Zellman's end.
And Zellman don't like that.
Tony's jealous. He's annoyed. She's taking classes at the community college, English as a second language classes. She's making egg salad, and Zellman says, light on the mayo.
Yeah, you gotta let up with this mayo. You're really obsessed. You're looking for meaning, in mirages or something. Listen to me.
This is about the 5th or 6th time. I asked David about the mayonnaise. I asked Terry Winter.
Yeah.
Who wrote this? I asked Terry. He said he doesn't think it was a conscious thing, but mayonnaise, Wonder Bread, white people, that's the meaning of it. But mayo is a presence. They don't talk mustard. They don't talk ketchup. They don't talk salsa. It's mayo, mayo, mayo.
You can't have egg salad without mayonnaise.
No, you can't. But he says light on the mayo once again. I can't let up on it. It's in your face.
Carmine Lupertazzi dies with a mouthful of egg salad.
Egg salad.
Which was gross.
Disgusting. You can't eat egg salad in public. That's something you eat at home. You don't eat egg salad out. You can't do that. That's no good.
Although,
you ever see these people come on a plane? They order tuna salad. Smell the whole plane up with tuna.
Yeah, that's pretty gross.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You got to be a little courteous.
Where do you get egg salad? Do you have a place you like?
You know what I like? It's a great sandwich. Pick a bagel.
That's good.
A salted bagel. Egg salad on a salted bagel.
Yeah.
Toasted salted bagel. Great.
There's that deli, the one on 5th Avenue, right below 23rd Street. It's an old time. I'm forgetting. I'm blanking on the name. I've been there a million times. I love that place. Do you know the one I mean?
No.
on Fifth Avenue,
Eisenberg's.
They make a great egg salad.
Yes. They make a great egg
And that
salad.
place is awesome. It's like going back in time. That
Old
hasn't
school.
changed since like the 30s or something.
Good
I love that
pastrami,
place.
corned beef. That's a great.
One of the classic New York delis.
One of the few left.
If you ever get a chance, listeners,
Eisenberg.
go to Eisenberg, Fifth Avenue. I think it's between 21st and 22nd.
Right on Fifth Avenue. Christopher's apartment. Christopher and Adriana are on the couch. They just had a dinner. She said, let's get married. It's going to be 2 years we're engaged. Plus, a wife can't testify against her husband. Christopher says you can't stay out all night getting high when you have a kid. Well, we won't have kids. Then what's the point of getting married? She says, a long time ago, I had a medical procedure. And her uterus was punctured. Of course, Christopher says both of them. Very funny line.
That is a funny line.
But she fails to tell him she got it getting an abortion.
All right.
Am I correct?
Yeah, she doesn't.
And he would have really gone crazy if she would have said that. That would have really piled on. And Christopher couldn't be any meaner. You're damaged good. You lied to me. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, really mean. And
Christopher has a thing with, fathers and sons and kids and mothers and stuff because of how he grew up. His father died when he was a baby, and he grew up without a father, and his mother was a alcoholic. So this kind of stuff, not that it's an excuse. I'm just explaining the psychology that stuff really sets him off.
Yeah, but it's really mean and mean.
Really mean. Yeah.
And she said we could adopt. And that's not going to fly.
He don't like that idea.
And he storms out. So the Bada Bing back room, Christopher, Tony, Silvio, Paulie. She's a good girl. Don't lose her, Tony says. Silvio always with good advice. You can have more kids than the Kennedys, but if you're married to a twat,
what good is it? Tony says you got to have balance in relationships, which...
Yeah.
He have? I don't know.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
It means absolutely
from him. Paulie says, as far as I'm concerned, marriage and our thing don't jive. They say, do you wind up like Uncle Junior, all alone, or, as
worse,
a joke?
like Paulie.
As Paulie. But, Tony's trying to say, stick with her. She's a good girl. And he says, come on, medicine today, technology. Yeah, they could fix that.
They could fix anything, I guess.
Christopher's car, he's passed
out. So he says,
I
got to go think about it. And what does he do? And his way of thinking about it is sticking a needle in his arm. He passes out. The works are still out. He's still tied. His arm's still tied up. And he's...
Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous doing it there.
Really dangerous. And it foreshadows his demise, really, because he's in the what is it, the... Range Rover, the Land Rover, and he almost gets into an accident because he's high and he's driving and he shouldn't, and of course, and foreshadowing the end of Christopher there a little bit.
Maurice's house, Zellman arrives.
So that's my ex-girlfriend, fiance, who plays Maurice's wife, Sally Stewart.
Oh, really?
Who, yeah.
I didn't know that.
When I was 21, we lived together for a couple of years.
Did you you got her the gig?
I may have had something to do with it, but she's been a friend. She's remained a friend for me.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Then. Yeah. She does a lot of good work. She does a lot of theater. She's done a lot of TV, and now her daughter is an actress as well.
Oh, wow.
So, she's a really good actress. We met in acting class with Johnny B.
You left off on good terms, obviously.
Yeah, not at the moment when you break up, but eventually, we worked together at Chez Josephine. That's how I started working in that restaurant. But she was there before.
You must be very difficult to get along with, anyway. I would think you must be almost impossible to live with.
and you're a cakewalk, though. Yeah, it's the laid back and just nothing rattles you. I'm sure.
They're drug addicts and dealers who've been occupying the house illegally. Zellman is trying to tell Maurice he needs to get some of these gangbangers, the people from the outreach program. Do you want 7,000? Now he passes it down to him. He'll dock him 7,000. He's really putting Maurice in a bad spot here. It's very dangerous what they're doing. He wants him to hire some local kids to go throw these crackheads out of the house. And I mean, now you're getting squirrely, I mean, they're coming
really
in with
squirrely.
guns.
No. It's really, and they're talking about, there's photos in there, past and activism, their life of activism. And they say, well, we renounced violence when Eldridge Cleaver went into the codpiece business. Now, Eldridge Cleaver wrote the book Soul on Ice. He was a civil rights activist and Black Panther. But then he started selling these pants, penis pants they're called, which literally, you have to look this up because it's fucking hysterical. They literally had a sleeve where, in the crotch.
For your salami.
Yeah. And it hangs on instead of like a fly, they have this sleeve.
To show how big your salami is?
Hopefully, I guess.
Is that what that's about?
But he sold these. He went into business selling these pants.
How'd it do?
I don't know. Did you ever see anybody wearing them?
I have not.
Maybe we could bring those back.
Why not?
Maybe it's time to bring back the penis
That's
pants.
a lot. I got to tell you, that's a lot of pressure wearing those pants.
That's a lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure. You're walking down the thing, people are making fun of you. Look
You
at
gotta,
that.
you gotta stuff it if you can't.
Like Tom Jones. Remember Tom Jones? They used to say, used to put a sock in there.
Did he?
That's what they say. I don't know. He wasn't wearing it when I met him, but they used to put a sock.
How did you know he wasn't wearing it?
I don't know.
Well, you just said it.
I didn't see a big bulge. Maybe he takes it off when he gets off stage. I don't know.
But you were looking pretty.
I was looking at Tom Jones' cock.
You just said you didn't see, so I don't know.
That's what I do.
You confuse me. You go one way and then you go the other way.
When I meet guys, I always look. First thing I do.
Are you saying he didn't have the sock in when I met him?
I didn't notice.
He might have had 5 socks in there when you met him.
I didn't notice Tom Jones' sock. Maurice. Maurice doesn't want to do it. This is dicey, man. Something bad could happen. But what could he do? He agrees to go. Guys like Tony, you don't fool around with these people, Zellman tells Maurice.
Yeah, so now he really puts pressure on him. He's putting the screws to Maurice, saying,
Maurice said nobody mentioned violence, so it's a whole nother thing. Melfi's office, we need to talk about your recent behavior in here. It was unacceptable, Anthony. He's talking.
Didn't you get my flowers?
Again, she says, what is it? FTD flowers is not going to help you. He gives half-ass apologies. I've been holding a grudge about Wendy Cobbler. That's the therapist he sent.
Played by Linda Lavin. Yeah.
She recommended that Meadow go to her. Tony admits he was wrong finally. He says, I've been restraining myself. Believe me. One of them had a gun. The other one threw a bottle at my car. And she says, a great line, well, in the future, I'll ask that you extend to me the same courtesy you would a crack addict. It's like touche.
It is touche. And he's deflecting, he doesn't want to admit how wrong he was, and I was mad at you because of the therapist. And she recommended a therapist. She's not guaranteeing results or anything like that. It just wasn't what he wanted to hear, but he's not accepting.
But she was a little off fucking.
She was way off, of course. I agree.
Come on. If you recommended
but that's not an excuse for him abusing.
No, but if you recommended somebody like that, you would never recommend a wacko to me. I've recommended people to you and vice versa. I tell you, the guys, I would tell you, she's a little wacky, so beware. But she's good.
I might say that to the therapist before they meet you. He's a little wacky, so beware. I recommended you to my friend Steve just to warn you.
He's a little wacky.
He's a little difficult. He's never been to therapy before.
He's a little wacky compared to some of your other patients.
Don't bring up mayonnaise.
There you go. Christopher's apartment. Adriana's watching the A-Team. I pity the fool.
Now that was created by Stephen J. Cannell, who did Rockford. Stephen J. Cannell was kind of a mentor of David Chase. David Chase once said about Stephen Cannell, no person he ever met seemed to like writing more. And he also did, he did a lot of TV, in the 70s. And he did 21 Jump Street and
died young. He was
Great American Hero,
yeah.
A-Team, and Rockford, which was probably his best show, I would say. That she's watching that, yeah.
Christopher arrives, makes up with her. I love you, Adriana. I want you in my life. Let's go, our anniversary. She asks if he's high. Are you high? I want to make sure this is real. He says, let's go on our anniversary to Vegas to get married. Anyway, not my favorite place to get married. Elvis,
a lot of people do, though. Right? Yes. It's very common. It really is.
The biggest
you could just show up and get married. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
You don't need a license, or they give you a license there.
No, what you do is you go, if you were going to get married in the chapel, you go to the chapel, Elvis Chapel, whatever chapel. You go, they drive you downtown. It used to be, maybe it still is, I know on the weekends for sure, open 24 hours a day. So you could get a license anytime.
So you could be whacked off your ass at 4 a.m.
Yeah, well, it happens a lot. Now, listen, they're not supposed to, if you're incapacitated, they're not supposed to give you the license because that happens a lot. I'll tell you a funny story. A friend of mine, as a matter of fact, the guy that I moved out there with, we grew up together in Brooklyn, he meets a girl and he's hitting on her, trying to take her home. She says, the only way I would fuck you is if we were married. He says, she's like deflecting him. The only way if we were married, I would fuck you. He says, let's go get married. She says, get out of here. He says, let's go get married. I swear, it's a true story. They go downtown. It's like a Saturday night. He gets married. He goes home with her. He's fucking married. He calls me up. Like 2 days later, he says, I got married. I got to get out of this. Because now you got to get the annulment, which is not so easy.
And she wanted to be married? She was
okay with it.
She was in.
And he wanted,
That's like Homer Simpson and Ned Flanders. They had did you ever see that Simpson episode? No. They get it. I think it's before The Hangover. The Hangover might have got there inspired by it. They go on a bender and they wake up and they're married to 2 cocktail waitresses and they don't want to. They're all in the women. I gave the idea though. Now, Talking Soprano Wedding Chapel in Vegas.
Okay.
We get ordained. I could do the Buddhist weddings.
Okay.
And, either we're there, that's a really expensive one, or we get lookalikes to kind of pretend they're us. That could be a cheap wedding.
I like it.
If they pay enough, we'll fly in, do the wedding.
I got to tell you, you have some ingenious.
Could decorate it like the Soprano, like you have a Bada Bing backdrop. You have
the red curtains.
Pork store, red curtains.
And when they get married, they wear Bose headphones, and we give them the
Bose headphones.
How's that?
I don't know. It sounds like a good
Talking
idea.
Soprano Wedding Chapel. So my buddy got married. Long story short, we had to get an attorney, get it annulled. But people get married. They have a Winnebago, a pull up. They pull up to your driveway, and it's a wedding chapel.
Oh, it's a to-go wedding. Delivery.
Wedding. They go, they come to your place and they open up the doors and it's a wedding chapel inside and they get married. So you're in your house, you're scratching your balls and you're in your underwear. The bell rings, ding dong, ready to get married.
Well, I would think I'd be dressed if I knew I was getting married.
Throw a pair of pants. Then they also have
Why would I be scratching my balls though? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, you scratch your balls while you watch TV, don't you? You don't do that?
Why am I watching TV?
Am I the only person in the world that scratches their balls?
Maybe the only one that admits it. But wait, now I call I got this woman, we want to get married. I call the wedding chapel.
Yeah.
And they're coming to get married. Meanwhile, I'm watching TV, scratching my balls. I'm not taking a shower or shaving.
Maybe you took a shower, but
having a drink, pre-wedding drink or something.
You get Elvis. Then there's also a drive-through where you go, you never get out of the car. Like McDonald's. You drive in and the guy sticks his head out the window and you get married there. You also have my friend does Marilyn Monroe, Joelle Righetti, good friend of mine for a long time. I know her for 30 years. She is an ordained minister. She'll come to your house. She's Marilyn Monroe, if you like. Elvis.
There you go. Talking Sopranos.
I got married in Vegas, but I got married in a church. I didn't have all the.
And it wasn't Elvis who married you.
No. It was a priest.
It was a priest. Yeah.
But they had.
Stephen Van Zandt and Maureen Van Zandt were married by who, right?
Yeah. Chuck Berry.
Little Richard, wasn't it?
Little Richard.
Little Richard, yeah. No, Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry's not marrying anybody.
No.
Little Richard.
Little Richard, yeah, that's great.
He was.
That's a memory. Yeah. That's a memory. Whatever. To each his own. No frills. A lot of. It's the biggest day of the year, if I'm not mistaken. Valentine's Day and New Year's Eve. Valentine's Day, they would literally be lined up outside the chapels. Lined up. They would even have tents, temporary chapels, all over the place. Yeah.
That sounds real romantic. Standing online with 40 other people waiting to get married in
It's Vegas. Big business. Or didn't, what was that, Sun Yun Moon, when he married all those couples in
Madison Square Garden. Yeah, like thousands of people.
Thousands of people.
Yeah.
Hey, who knows? Maybe those are the ones that last.
I think he arranged all those marriages, if I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Maybe
that works. Who knows? She asks if he's high. She wants to make sure it's real. She's very excited. They're gonna go to Vegas to get married on the anniversary. The Soprano house. Adriana and Carmela talk. Carmela, who just loves this. We'll get married here. This is.
She's taking over. She's a wedding planner.
This is a sacrament. We'll have Artie do the catering. We'll decorate with mums. Christopher's going to ask Tony to be the best man. Does your mother know? You're the first person I told. Carmela this is in her wheelhouse here.
Yeah, no Vegas. That's a bad move. You got to you got to do it here with us. And
you got to do the whole. Car pulls up, the kids get out with guns.
Very violent. It's a very disturbing scene.
It very is. And I tell you, I'm worried the whole way that something's going to happen to that little girl.
Yeah.
There's a little girl there.
And disturbing. Roy Milton Davis plays the homeless man in that scene. I've seen him in a million things. He passed away a few years ago.
And he always plays a homeless guy.
Did he? Was that his?
A lot of
time.
Yeah.
Very familiar face. Yeah. Joe's Apartment is an indie movie that I saw him in.
And he's got one line. I told you people, crack is bad shit. They beat up the crackheads. They chased them out. I'm very scared. That something was going to happen to that little girl.
Yeah, it's very disturbing. And then it cuts from that horrific, acts of violence to them signing the document at the bank with Dr. Freed, selling it to Maurice. Just bad karma. It's you seeing the blood that's shed for this big scam. Behind them is a mural which says, "We are moving forward, America." And it's kind of in the style of Thomas Hart Benton, he was a painter with the WPA, which was a New Deal labor project. But it's about kind of working class, coming from, rising and doing better. And I'm sure that's deliberate that backdrop was there.
Soprano basement. Tony gives Brian a new watch, $15,000 watch. Watches don't do much for me. Jim was a big watch guy. He had a big collection.
He had a big collection. Who has one of the biggest watch collections is Malcolm McDowell, apparently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a big watch collector, like a connoisseur.
Really? Joe Scarp has a lot of watches. And Jim, which we've talked about on the show, bought us all watches at the end. He bought the cast and crew watches with a logo, with the dates, 99 to 2007, Sopranos, R.I.P. Jim was a big watch guy. $15,000 watch. He says, I can't believe you went through with this. Tony assures him your name never came up.
Yeah, he's surprised, but he went into it obviously in great detail at some point.
Yeah, no, for sure. He says that Tony gives him a drill because Carmela calls to him, says, I'm just borrowing a tool. He comes out with a drill.
She doesn't buy it.
No, really she's really suspicious. The bell rings. She primps in the mirror. Furio's at the door. He says he's going to wait out in the car. Now, why is this?
He's realizing that it's not going to happen, with her, and he's got to kind of be hard with himself. It's like kind of kicking a drug or something. He realizes that there's no end in sight for this. There's no happy ending here.
So he's hurting. So he'd rather just stay away.
I guess. What's his alternative?
Says, I'm waiting out in the car. He makes up a story. She's disappointed. She sees Brian with the drill. I mean, what's Brian getting himself into here? This is how it happens also.
And that's what she's, wary of because he's her cousin.
We're in Brooklyn, the River Cafe. Have you ever eaten there?
I have not. It's famous for its view of downtown Manhattan. Have you eaten there?
Yes.
Is it good?
Great restaurant. We went for our 25th wedding anniversary. If you get a chance when all this bullshit's over, it is an experience. Really nice experience. Special occasion place. It's actually a barge. From the outside, it looks like nothing at all.
So it's on the river.
It's on the water.
East River.
Yes.
And it's, what is it, Brooklyn Heights or near Brooklyn Heights? Or?
Near Brooklyn Heights. You take the ferry over from Manhattan here. You take the ferry, takes you right there. And it's all lit up, beautiful lights. The trees and all beautiful twinkly lights. Got a piano player. Guy's been there forever. A little bar. And the restaurant is just fantastic. The view, you are underneath the bridge. It's just couldn't be beautiful. More beautiful. Food is great. We had a terrific time, but special occasion. It's not,
It's expensive.
It's expensive, yeah. Johnny Sack and Paulie have dinner. Fucking Tony, 4 months I'm up there like a man in the Iron Mask. Not one visit, not even a fucking phone call. Johnny kind of says, listen, the guy's a boss. It's okay. These
Johnny's
days,
a snake.
He is a snake. Yeah. You give someone the time of day, it's conspiracy, criminal conspiracy. He can't phone like you did. I'm sucking wind. He calls Zellman a Christ killer. Fucking Zellman, real estate scam. Paulie got a big mouth.
Big mouth. He says, when do I ever complain? He complains all the time. He's always feeling slighted. And Johnny with the whole Carmine thinks the world of you, which we know later on, we realize Carmine doesn't even know who Paulie is.
Correct.
He doesn't even know he exists.
And, Paulie got a big mouth. And he tells him there's a real estate scam. And Johnny thinks it's the other one that Tony paid him on.
The Frelinghuysen Avenue.
And this is a new one. New one completely.
And Paulie is, spilling it, which is not a good move. Johnny Sack likes cognac, it looks like. He drinks a lot of cognac.
That's the kind of place you would, though. It's that kind of place, these guys drink in the middle of the day. I can't drink like that daytime. Like even Tony, when he goes over to Zellman's, he makes him a drink, a bourbon, a scotch, whatever. I mean, right in the middle of the day as he's making his rounds, Tony drinks a lot of Bada Bing.
I don't do that. I can do it anymore. I used to do that a lot.
Yeah, I can't do that. I mean, me, if I was going to drink, it's mostly at night. If I get
so
a
you
drink,
go to bed and then you go to sleep. Yeah.
You go out, whatever, but I can't have a few and then I'm okay and then do work and then.
No, because you get tired. Yeah.
Oh no! Either you go all the way through. It's all or nothing for me. You know that. I remember you drinking cognac. It had to be 105 degrees out. We were in Vegas. Then we were.
At Caesars. Yeah.
I mean, you were reading the paper, the racing form with a sport jacket on. Then at the red carpet, you had your sunglasses on. I think it was the Emmys. You were drinking. It was so hot. I mean, I can't even imagine.
I don't know.
Crack House Street. Zellman's there. He meets Loretta. He sees Tony drive by. Tony is talking to Vito. Vito says he'll take care of everything. He says these yuppies will pay for the stuff around the fireplace. He's telling them basically get everything out of there we can make some money from.
And Zellman says, I'll see you at the Bing tomorrow, basically saying, I want to get my money. And Tony's kind of Yeah. I guess he's resentful because of Irina, because he's like, maybe, I don't know. He's kind of fucking with him a little bit.
And he said the kid comes up to him and says, "You're going to be a nice house here." No answer from Zellman.
He's guilty. He feels like, he has responsibility to the neighborhoods and the people, his constituents, and he's selling them out. It's not sitting well. Nor should it.
The wedding store. Adriana's trying on a wedding dress. She's with her sister. "I can't believe you're doing this." And she says,
"That's her sister?"
"I think so." No?
I don't
Am
think
I wrong?
so. I don't think she has a sister.
Well, where did I get that from?
I don't know. Maybe you might be right. I don't remember that though. Terry, played by
thought it was
Vanessa
a
McGlory.
sister. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't remember her having a sister, but you could be right.
I'll tell you though, the main thing about getting married, I can never be able to call to testify. A wife can't testify against her husband. She says she saw, what was it on Murder
She Wrote, Angela Lansbury.
I don't think that's true. Adriana's then talking about boost. At least we know we're going to get a lot of envelopes. And she says that at some wedding, it didn't even pay for the boost, which is a cash gift, didn't even pay for the dinner.
Right. So if you go to a wedding, the dinner might be $100 a head or more.
Nowadays, it's
200. And if you don't cover that in your gift, so you're two people, you're going, you got to cover at least 400 for them to break even. So you got to give even more. Right?
What do you give? What do you give at?
Depends who it is. If somebody close to me, somebody I really like.
What do you give? $1,000?
Depends. Depends who it is.
You got to give. It's about maybe $250 a head. You got to give a minimum of $500.
$500 minimum. Yeah.
That's a minimum for two, which is crazy. And then if it's someone you like, or someone close or a relative, it's $1,000. So you're better off not going to the wedding and sending 400, 500. Not going. Sorry, I can't make it. It's cheaper. Got to get a car. Got to get a car service. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean?
It's expensive. Well, it's expensive to have a wedding, right?
That's why you go to Vegas. You fucking call the Winnebago. They pull up in front of the house. That's it. You're scratching your balls. You're drinking a Heineken. You go outside. You get married. 15 minutes. You're back in the house. That's it. And you live happily ever after. Free law consultation office, 1-800-LAW-FOR-YOU.
That's basically, that's where she is, huh?
She meets Stan. He's giving her a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo. And then he says, "Listen, you want the short answer? If they want you to testify, they're going to find a way, especially with a RICO case."
The feds will find a way to get you to testify.
Did you ever know the guy that owned the 1-800 lawyer here in New York?
He lived across the street from me. He passed away, Bruce Davis.
And he owned that phone number, and he became very, very wealthy.
He was related to Mary Lou. I think he was her brother-in-law, Mary Lou of Mary Lou's restaurant on 9th Street, off of 5th, and he lived in the corner on 5th and 9th. I lived on the other corner of 5th and 9th at one time. I used to see him. He had a red Rolls Royce with his initials on it.
And Andy used to drive him. No, then he had a limo, a maroon limo. Our friend Andy, the downtown Lenny, used to drive him. And he would go to the same place every single night. French roast on Park Avenue. The French roast, he was in walking distance wherever he was. He went to that restaurant, then he went somewhere uptown, a piano bar, every night like clockwork, the same place. Then he moved to Breezy Point. He used to hang out at Walker's, a creature of habit.
Yeah, he passed away.
Became very, very wealty.
Yeah, I used to see him in my neighborhood all the time.
1-800-LAWYER. Silvio, the Bada Bing back room. Silvio gives Maurice and Zellman the money. No hard feelings. We're talking about it. Let's go get something to eat. 60 G each. It seems a lot of risk and work for 60 grand, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a lot of risk, but maybe they, 60G each. That's what they got. That's,
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah. Bada Bing upstairs. Silvio, Tony, and Ralphie, they toast to the
Oh,
federal
he
government.
does say sometimes I feel like I should be punished, Zellman says, which is coming very soon.
Yeah. But I don't think that's a whole lot of money. It's not that big a score. I don't know. 60 grand. I mean, they could go to jail for this. Is it worth 60,000? Maybe 250,000.
Yeah, I don't
60,000
know.
isn't life changing money.
Yeah, but Zellman barely had to do anything.
Maurice said he has child support from his first marriage. Blah blah blah. Soprano house. It's the Adriana's bridal shower. She's opening of the gifts. Doesn't look too happy. Is she having second thoughts here now that she knows that she can testify?
She's scared.
Makes you that laughs
Terrible
all around.
situation. I love when she's a cappuccino. He used to drink Bosco.
Bosco. And
Barry and Leone.
the people know what Bosco is. It's chocolate syrup. Do they still sell Bosco?
I don't know. You
I
put
don't
it
know
in milk. You make chocolate milk or milkshakes.
chocolate milk.
Whatever.
I don't know
She's
if they.
just bitter and just not. She's not into it. Janice looks jealous, like she wishes she was getting married, or she's
She got her thing her gift at Fortune off. She said.
fortunate off.
Capresso. You'll love that, Carmela says. Carmela's in charge here. Then don't open the package with the scissors. It's bad luck. I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Another superstition that I didn't know that.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's a symbol that you'll be divided. Your marriage won't.
You're not superstitious, right?
A little bit. Yeah, I prefer odd numbers over even if I have to choose.
So you are a little superstitious. Okay. Tony's car. Tony's car. Tony listens to the radio. He sings "Oh Girl," he begins to cry. Now, is he crying? Why is he crying? Is it because of Gloria? Is it because of Irina? Why is Tony crying?
I don't think he's crying because of Irina. I think he's crying, I think he's still dealing with the aftermath of Gloria. I think somehow it's a vulnerable moment. Music can often trigger, memories and,
Sure.
things that happen then. I guess he's particularly vulnerable in that moment.
Who's a lot of sad songs, and he's one of my favorites, John Prine. Do you like John Prine?
I do, yeah.
A lot of sad songs, especially since he just died.
He passed away from COVID, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He was
last
sick.
year.
He had cancer. Yeah. So he pulls up to Zellman's house.
But I think it's Irina's house because it does not seem like, to me, it seems like he's not expecting to confront Zellman. He's going to see her.
Really?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, and I rewound this several times.
All right. Where does she own a house?
Whatever, she had an apartment or something like that. Was she? Is he?
Well, Silvio did give her that money.
Why is she answering the door at Zellman's house?
Well, he rings the bell. He pushes past her, but he goes right up to Zellman. Goes right up looking for Zellman. He says, "You got anything to drink?" And he goes right up there. And could you imagine that? He's in his underwear, sitting on the bed, no shirt.
Well, he goes right up to the bedroom, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So it's either, if it was her house, he's just going over there to have sex with her, to kind of stick it to him. Or if he's going to Zellman's house, then he's going there to kick his ass.
That's what I thought. But he also, it is possible she owns a house because Tony did give her, Silvio brought it at 70 grand, remember?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, I kept rewinding it trying to tell, because it looks kind of similar. There's a staircase right by the door and there's one in Zellman. So it's, I'm not really sure.
And then
Good question. We should ask Terry or something.
He continues to beat Zellman with the belt. Of all the girls in New Jersey, you had to pick this one. Zellman's crying. He says, "Yeah, cry like a little bitch." Peter Riegert, who's a terrific actor, and I'm going to try to get him on the show. I'm going to track Peter down and see if he'll be a guest on our show. And another great episode, man.
Yeah, ends with the shy lights.
Great episode. The Shy Lights. The guy wants me to get him their money.
You're going to have to go figure out who.
I'm going to have to figure out how much, how many times. Sure, let me get on that right away. Okay, now it's time for the Talking Sopranos Ask Me Anything segment. The winner of our AMA Best Question is Michael from New Brunswick, New Jersey. And we're sending Michael a pair of Bose headphones.
Michael asks, what films do you guys think are completely underrated and definitely deserve more attention? Now, I'm not sure, do you mean like kind of in the gangster genre or in general or both? Or what do you think?
I don't know.
What are some of yours?
Bang the Drum Slowly.
Oh, that's a good one. That is it Michael Moriarty?
Yes. Very
and Robert De Niro.
And De Niro, early on. That's before I disliked him. That's before he was a prick. He was just a really good actor.
It's a baseball movie, right?
It's really good, but it is, but it's not. It is, but it's not. It goes much deeper. That's a very underrated movie, for sure. I'm trying to think of some other ones. As far as mob movies, I don't know, underrated. I like Godfather 2 more than Godfather 1.
That's not underrated.
No, it's not underrated. I'm just saying I like 2 more than 1. You know.
I mean, I like them both. I kind of think of them as the one movie, really, in a way. It's hard to really separate them. But,
one of my favorite movies, and I think it's an underrated movie because so many people haven't seen it, Crimes and Misdemeanors.
Fantastic.
I mean, it is so good. It's one of Woody Allen's best, if not his best.
That's my favorite of his. Have you seen The Friends of Eddie Coyle? That's a gangster movie.
Years ago.
Starring Robert Mitchum.
Years ago, I did.
And it's really good. I think it's set in Boston. Just very gritty, real looking, and Mitchum's awesome. Mitchum's older. I think it was made in the early 70s. That's an underrated one. St. Jack, Peter Bogdanovich wrote and directed, starring Ben Gazzara.
Yeah.
Shot in Singapore. Ben plays a pimp.
I just saw
expat pimp. Really good movie.
I just saw a Ben Gazzara movie. Maybe you know the name of it, where he's in like a West Point. He's a scammer and a schemer, and he's kind of they don't call it West Point, but he's kind of in a military type school.
That's not Anatomy of a Murder where he plays a colonel or something.
No,
not that.
No.
I think I know which one you mean. He was really young.
Really young. Convicts 4, one of his movies, is underrated that I love. Really good movie.
That's a good one. Have you ever seen Charlie Varick?
No.
It's Walter Matthau plays a bookie. It's really good. It's a really good performance by Walter Matthau. A very overlooked movie, but a really good one. Mikey and Nicky, you've seen that. Peter Falk and John Cassavetes. Written directed by Elaine May. That's a really good one.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy about that.
Oh, I love that.
I saw it not that long ago. Well, you listen. I'm a Cassavetes fan.
I like their acting.
Not like you. Yeah. I mean, I love Peter Falk. There's so many overrated movies. I mean, I think for sure The Irishman was way overrated movie.
I still haven't seen The Irishman.
Yeah, I mean,
I wanted to see it in the theaters and I missed it, so I was kind of waiting for that.
I mean, they couldn't live up to the hype, and of course, people are going to go, "Well, you weren't in it." It has nothing to do with me being in it or not in it. It wasn't a bad movie. The performances were wonderful. I just thought the hype, it could never live up to the hype, as so many movies. I'm trying to think. I just kind of went blank.
After Hours is a good Scorsese.
That's a good
That's
one.
A little underrated. That's a good one.
I like that movie. I like Jerry Maguire, which a lot of people kind of corny.
Seen that.
It's kind of corny, but I like that. I like that movie. I just watched Manhattan Murder Mystery.
I've never seen that.
That was a good one, of Woody Allen. That was a good Woody Allen movie that I liked a lot. Underrated movie. I mean, mob movies. Which other mob movies we got?
Killing of a Chinese Bookie, Ben Gazzara.
That was a good one. I love that movie.
Cabaret Maxime, which we did in Portugal. I was in that with Johnny
Great
B.
movie.
And
a lot of people, unfortunately, hopefully they'll see that someday.
And Proval, David Proval is in it.
Nikki Deuce is an underrated.
Nikki Deuce is a kids movie. That's a gangster kind of movie.
You know, that's about it, I guess. I don't know. Of course, when we're done here, then I'm going to remember all the underrated.
You'll
movies.
think of a lot of other ones.
I did the movie Kill the Irishman, which a lot of people liked. It wasn't one of my favorites, but a lot of great people are in it. Vinny D'Onofrio and Paul Sorvino's in it, and Ray Stevenson. As Linda Cardellini. Good movie. If you
know
like
what?
movies,
it's a good one. Robert Duvall directed a movie in the either early 80s or late 70s called Angelo, My Love. And he wrote it and directed it, and it's about gypsies in New York. And he used all real people. But the story is fictional. So he kind of, I don't know, I'd love to know the history of this movie, because he must have befriended people in the, gypsy community, and they allowed him into their lives at, parties and in their homes and in their businesses. And he would have them act out these scenes.
That's good.
It's about this little kid who kind of thinks he's like 12, little guy thinks he's a man. He goes to nightclubs, he dances with, women, it's really good. And I don't think any of these people were actors.
And it's called Angelo.
Angelo, My Love.
I'm gonna look for it.
And Robert Duvall wrote it and directed it, and it's tremendous. It's really worth seeing.
I am gonna look for that.
Michael, thanks for the question. Good job.
That was a good one. Thanks for listening. And remember, new episodes are released every Monday. Please subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please subscribe on YouTube. We're getting close. We want 100,000 subscribers. Please help us out. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and like us on Facebook. And right now, you can get official Talking Soprano merchandise on TalkingSopranos.com or through our YouTube channel.
Our executive producer is Jeff Sussman, producers Andy Verderam. Our music was composed and performed by Elijah Amerton. You can hear more of Elijah's music and the band Zopa, which Elijah and I play in together, by clicking the links at TalkingSopranos.com. Our production crew includes Ty Verderam and Sierra Schirripa. We record Talking Sopranos at NYC Podcasting, which is New York's premier podcasting studio.
And they are the premier. Good guys.
Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production.
All right, man. I will see you next week.
See you next week.